A ship's captain stares down at a newspaper warning telling him not to sail. He reads it twice, folds the paper, and boards his ship anyway, a decision that will help kill 1,198 people. This is the real story of the Lusitania, not just a ship torpedoed in World War I, but a floating palace turned into a grave in under 20 minutes, hiding a secret that still isn't fully explained. Somewhere deep in that ship's hold sits cargo the British government spent decades refusing to fully admit to, a hidden shipment that may explain why so many people never had a chance to survive. May 1st, 1915. New York Harbor. The RMS Lusitania, one of the fastest and most famous ocean liners in the world, prepares to cross an Atlantic Ocean that has quietly turned into a war zone. That same morning, the German embassy publishes a warning in 50 American newspapers, right beside Cunard's own advertisement for the voyage: any ship flying a British flag sails into these waters at its own risk. Passengers read the warning over breakfast and laugh it off. A German submarine, sinking the fastest liner in the world? To almost everyone boarding, the idea sounds absurd. Captain William Turner has crossed this ocean hundreds of times without incident. He trusts his ship's speed and size, not a printed threat from a government an ocean away. But hundreds of miles away, in offices in London, men who know far more than Turner does are about to make decisions that will quietly decide who lives and who does not. Decision 1: the captain's course. William Turner has spent 40 years at sea, working his way up from cabin boy to master. Sailors call him Bowler Bill, for the hat he wears even standing on deck in a storm. The Admiralty has sent secret instructions to every British captain crossing these waters: zigzag constantly, stay in the mid-channel, and never slow down anywhere near the coast. Turner does the opposite. Thick fog rolls in off the Irish coast, and instead of zigzagging away from danger, he slows the ship and steers straight toward land to fix his exact position. He is trusting decades-old navigation habits over brand-new wartime warnings, precision over evasion. In his mind, it feels like the safer choice. It is about to be the opposite. That single choice puts the Lusitania on a slow, straight, and painfully predictable line, exactly the kind of target a hunting submarine dreams about finding. Turner has received Admiralty warnings about U-boat activity in the area, but no live, real-time intelligence on exactly where the enemy is. He is navigating on incomplete information, with 1,959 lives depending on his own judgment. Not far away, a German U-boat commander named Walter Schwieger, captain of submarine U-20, is watching the horizon through his periscope. He has already been hunting these waters for days. One captain, trusting the old rules. One captain, hunting with the new ones. Neither man yet knows just how close together the two of them already are. Decision 2: the Escort that vanished. Weeks before the sinking, the Royal Navy assigns a cruiser, HMS Juno, to escort the Lusitania safely through the most dangerous stretch of water near Ireland. That stretch of water near the Irish coast was already known as dangerous, narrow, exposed, and impossible for any liner to avoid on approach, which is exactly why an armed escort mattered so much there. Turner is told to expect that armed escort waiting for him near the coast, real protection, backed by guns, not just printed warnings in a newspaper. An escort like Juno wasn't just symbolic protection. A warship patrolling nearby could scan the surrounding water, relay sightings back to shore, and force any lurking submarine to stay hidden and cautious instead of hunting freely. Days before the Lusitania even leaves New York, the Admiralty quietly pulls Juno off the assignment entirely and never fully explains the change to Turner. The Admiralty's stated reason points to Juno's own vulnerability. After 3 British cruisers had already been torpedoed earlier in the war, officials judged an old cruiser like Juno was too exposed to risk in these waters. Turner is never given the full explanation. But historians have long suspected a colder reason. The Navy would rather risk one civilian liner than lose one of its own warships to a torpedo. The result is simple and brutal: no armed escort, no warning shots fired, nothing at all standing between the Lusitania and open, unguarded water, exactly where a hunting submarine could operate without ever being seen. Turner is never told just how alone his ship truly is, not until it is far too late for that knowledge to change anything at all. A choice made quietly inside a London office removes the one thing that might have saved the ship, and no one aboard is ever told the real reason why. In private correspondence a few months earlier, First Lord of the Admiralty Winston Churchill had written that drawing neutral shipping, including American vessels, into British waters could help drag the United States into war against Germany, a letter historians still cite as evidence of how coldly the Admiralty viewed the risks to civilian ships. Decision 3. What was really hidden in the hold? The Lusitania's official manifest lists cheese, furs, and ordinary foodstuffs, a completely unremarkable cargo for a passenger liner. But buried further down the paperwork, in far smaller print, sit roughly 4,200 cases of rifle cartridges, along with crates of percussion fuses and empty shrapnel shell casings. Britain is desperate for ammunition on the Western Front, and shipping it through neutral American ports, hidden aboard passenger liners, turns out to be cheaper and faster than any other available route. So British authorities and the Cunard Shipping Company make a decision together: load the munitions anyway, packed alongside families, honeymooners, children, and completely unsuspecting civilians. They use a legal loophole, declaring the cartridges as small arms ammunition, technically legal for a passenger ship to carry under the rules of the time, technically not classified as full explosives. Germany argued that any ship knowingly carrying war material forfeited its protection as a civilian vessel and became a legitimate military target, a legal claim historians and international lawyers still debate to this day. Germany has likely known this for weeks, tracking Cunard's cargo through intelligence sources, which is exactly why their embassy published that warning in 50 newspapers before the ship ever left the dock. Not one passenger boarding that morning knows what sits beneath the deck. They are walking across laughing, drinking champagne, waving handkerchiefs goodbye to the New York skyline. For decades, Cunard and British officials publicly maintained that the ship carried nothing but small arms ammunition, a claim that divers exploring the wreck decades later will directly contradict. For decisions now stack on top of each other: the captain's course, the missing escort, the hidden cargo, and a government quietly hoping for exactly this outcome. All of it is about to converge in a single afternoon. May 7, 1915. Off the old head of Kinsale, Ireland, Captain Lieutenant Walter Schwieger looks through his periscope and sees 4 enormous funnels rising against the afternoon sky. He gives the order to fire. It is 2:10 in the afternoon when a single torpedo slams into the Lusitania's starboard side, just below the bridge, ripping straight through the outer hull. The first explosion is exactly what everyone expects: violent, loud, and deadly, but something a well-built ship this size should reasonably be able to survive. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next. Then comes a second explosion, far bigger and far deeper, erupting from somewhere deep inside the hull that a single torpedo alone should never have been able to reach. To this day, no one fully agrees on what caused it. Igniting coal dust in a near-empty bunker? Or the munitions hidden in the hold, finally detonating? Whatever caused it, the ship lists violently within seconds, tilting so hard and so fast that simply walking across the deck becomes almost physically impossible. With the ship tilted so sharply to one side, half the lifeboats can't be lowered at all. They simply hang uselessly against the hull as the deck drops toward the water. On deck, it is total chaos. Parents lose their grip on children's hands in the crush. Water floods up through stairwells faster than anyone below can climb. Some passengers leap straight into the freezing Atlantic rather than wait for a lifeboat that may never come. Others are pulled down by the suction of the sinking hull itself. From the moment the torpedo strikes to the moment the Lusitania disappears completely beneath the waves, only 18 minutes pass, barely enough time to read this sentence twice. When it is finally over, 1,198 of the 1,959 people aboard are dead, including 128 Americans, a number that will drag the United States one step closer to war. The cover-up begins almost immediately. News of the sinking spreads fast, and public outrage erupts across America. Sympathy for Britain, fury at Germany, and pressure building steadily toward war. But Britain has a serious problem. If the truth comes out that a civilian passenger ship secretly carried war munitions, it undermines their entire moral case against Germany's tactics. America's neutrality is fragile enough already, and any hint that a passenger ship had knowingly carried weapons risked shifting public sympathy away from Britain and straight toward Germany's side of the argument. So the Admiralty makes its final decision in this story. Someone has to publicly take the blame, and it will absolutely not be anyone in London. Winston Churchill and senior Admiralty officials push a story to the press. Captain Turner was negligent, careless with his ship, maybe even secretly working for the enemy. An official inquiry is held under Lord Mersey. Evidence about the munitions hidden in the hold is quietly suppressed, sealed away in government files for decades to come. Behind closed doors, Turner is privately cleared of any real wrongdoing. But publicly, his name is dragged through disgrace, and his career at sea is effectively finished. The man who made one questionable navigational call at sea becomes the public fall guy for decisions made hundreds of miles away, by men who never once faced a torpedo themselves. The wreck that still won't talk. The Lusitania is finally located and explored decades later, lying on its side roughly 300 feet down off the Irish coast. The wreck itself lies broken and corroded on the seabed, its hull slowly collapsing under decades of pressure and saltwater, guarding whatever evidence still remains locked inside its flooded compartments. In 1993, ocean explorer Robert Ballard, the same man who found the Titanic, dives the wreck himself and confirms what many had long suspected: the hull damage doesn't match a single torpedo alone. Later divers, working for decades under legal battles with the British government, report finding far more ammunition and shell casings inside the wreck than the official manifest ever admitted existed. For decades after the sinking, key British government files on the Lusitania's cargo stayed sealed, out of reach for historians and the public alike. Why would a government keep wartime shipping records sealed for so long, decades after everyone involved had died? For historians chasing the truth, that lingering silence has become a kind of evidence in itself. Historians still argue over the truth. Pure wartime negligence or a calculated decision that quietly traded 1,198 lives to protect a hidden shipment of weapons and pull America into war? So was Captain Turner simply a scapegoat for a government cover-up, or did his own decision truly help doom the ship? Tell us what you think in the comments below.